Greetings, Dragon Ball fans, and welcome to a new What If. In this series, we will explore the possible outcomes if, instead of giving Teen Goku the magical snip, Goku and Kami opt for a different approach. There are a few already like this out there, as is often the case, but I've decided to have some fun with my take on what if Goku kept his tail. The tails themselves, according to the series creator, are both a pain in the proverbial bum to draw and animate, and thus, quite conveniently, cease to be biologically relevant somewhere in the 10 to 24,000 battle power range. Why that range? The upper limit is given to us by none other than Vegeta. He thought his tail would grow back, post-Saiyan Saga, but it did not. Whether that was a lack of exposition, or it truly did not ever actually grow back, we may never know. The lower limit was then set quite recently. In the last movie, Broly's upper limit as a child was 10,000, and Paragus, very much wanting to live, removed the tail to stop the transformations. It is also heavily implied that the boy went ape on Vampa immediately after crashing, given his rather saggy armor. As for Goten and Trunks, that remains a bit of a mystery. Were they removed off-screen at birth, or were they born with a power level somewhere between 10 and 24,000? I'm leaning towards the former, if for no other reason than Chi-Chi and Bulma are still very much alive. See Larry Niven's Man of Steel, Woman of Kleenex for further details in that regard. We join Goku atop Kami's lookout, beginning his 3 years of training. Both of them agonize quietly over this tail. Just what could they do? Cutting it off works in the moment, but it just grows back again, often within the year. Kami, however, quickly realizes that he could just use his magic to prevent it from growing back by basically cauterizing the wound after it's cut or pulled off again. The two of them sit down one day and discuss the various pros and cons contained within the tail. Sure, he can fish with it and use it for other strange activities for an entirely non-aerodynamic surface. Kami also recounts the recent history with the tail and the ensuing rampages that are still fresh in Goku and the currently moonless world's mind. The destruction of the tournament arena, the destruction of Pilaf's castle, and much to Goku's consternation, that rampaging monster around Mount Paozu that squashed Master Gohan. The realization that he'd killed his father is sobering to say the least. This time around, Mr. Popo overhears their conversation, and when Kami mentions permanently removing it, he pipes up with an alternate suggestion. Instead of removing it, perhaps there's some way for Goku to learn to control himself. Does he stay as an ape after the moon sets? Why not time it to match the setting moon then, so he can ease in and out of it briefly, somewhere, out in the wastelands? So they both agree to keep the tail, at least for the time being. Goku is determined that someday he can learn to control himself while in that state. He can at least try. Worst case, Goku just can't do it, and the tail gets the snip anyway. So in addition to the traditional 80s action movie training montage over the next couple of years, they sprinkle in some carefully crafted ape training. With the Dragon Balls active again, the moon is wished back. Then, Kami and Goku travel deep into the wastelands, far from even the most remote settlement. From a suitably safe distance, Kami watches over Goku as he meditates for hours on end, before opening his eyes and looking up into the pre-dawn sky. This first time they try, the moon is only a few minutes from setting, hopefully releasing him from his inevitable rampage before too much damage can be done. And to their delight, it works. A few minutes later, Goku is lying naked and unconscious on the ground. On each successive attempt, the moon sits ever so slightly higher in the sky. Goku quickly takes to meditating in the buff, despite the pre-dawn chill. As the lunar cycles come and go, he soon starts to feel himself changing. At first, he can only keep track of the transformation into the beast before losing his grip, but with each successive turn, however, his control and sense of self last just that little bit longer. After well over a dozen of these excursions, as the moon once again touches the horizon, the ape remains settled. It sits, watching the moon slip lower and lower, then below the mountains, as dawn rapidly approaches from the opposite horizon. He shrinks back down to his normal teenage size, remaining fully conscious, something that has never happened before. Soon, Goku can spend the entire night, naked and cross-legged, meditating, first as himself, then after feeling that incredible power wash over him as his body stretches and grows, he continues to sit there, still cross-legged, but now covered head to toe in thick brown fur. The sight of a meditating Ozaru is quite spectacular, I'm sure. Good thing there's almost no one around to see it. From a nearby stone pillar, Kami looks on, smiling. He's done it. He's actually managed to tame that terrible beast. When Kami floats down and lands in front of the giant fanged ape to join him in his continuing meditation, to his surprise, the mighty ape greets him, albeit in a suitably bassy rumble. The 23rd World Martial Arts Tournament goes a bit differently, however, though not for the reasons you might think. Goku's base form is a touch weaker than normal. Those long nights each month spent in the wastelands have had a negligible but present impact on his overall training regime. Only a couple of points here and there on the as-yet unquantified battle power scale. He still has his tail, now tucked neatly around his waist, but he also has an extra layer of self-confidence beyond his usual. He has fully mastered himself. The beast will never again be let loose upon the world, not unless he chooses to. In the arena, he oozes both confidence and control, which the other competitors all notice. There is something very different about him. There is something very different about one of his opponents as well. He defeats Chi-Chi with little effort and agrees to marry her as he promised all those years ago. This time, however, Piccolo proves a lot harder. Goku's unflappable calm and unbridled self-confidence ultimately fall flat against this utter beast that Piccolo has become. But why is Piccolo so strong? Well, he can sense energy, can't he? Surely he would have sensed those periodic bursts in energy and would have wondered just what was going on. Working out the correlation with the full moon and then the rough location would have allowed him to watch from a distance. After the shock and awe wear off, seeing Goku and Kami there doing unspeakable things, Piccolo ground his teeth and set about training as hard as possible in hopes to match it. Maybe not the requisite 10 times harder, but to put a number on it, let's highball it at triple his original, somewhere in the 1200 range, to Goku's relatively modest 400. So, does Goku lose? Well, he's a little busy right now, being bodied by Piccolo. I mean, this isn't even a match. The crowd watches in terrified silence as Piccolo lords over them. He's going to enjoy ruling over this world. But then Piccolo makes a mistake. As he floats above the arena, he laughs and thanks Goku for pushing him to heights he'd never dreamed possible. He gestures to the slim crescent in the sky. And oh, what a shame, there's no way he can win. Without the help of a full moon, he's nothing. Goku instantly connects the dots. Piccolo knows about the Great Ape training. That's why he's so strong. The whole time he'd been training to fight the Great Ape, not Goku. Memories of that state wash over Goku as Piccolo takes aim and prepares to end him, the arena, and everyone nearby. The memories and feelings of being that ape swirl through Goku's mind. If only there was a full moon. He can almost feel the power washing over him as he sees Piccolo's attack lance down towards him, lying there on the broken arena slabs. Goku smiles slightly and reaches out towards the power, both in his mind and towards the approaching beam. As the blinding flash fades, the arena comes back into view. Goku is now standing, staring at what's left of the energy ball in his hands. He looks up at Piccolo, his eyes practically glowing yellow. He leaps into the air and grabs Piccolo by the ankle, then spins around and throws him down to the edge of the arena, shattering it. Piccolo, now touching the ground, has lost with a ring out. But how? How could he harness that power without the moon, without becoming the Great Ape? Yep, that's right. With Piccolo's unwitting help, and having long since taken control of that Ozaru form, Goku has managed something that no other Saiyan, save for one, has ever reached, and none have done it on purpose. He has stumbled headfirst into Broly's Ikari, or wrathful form. Broly, however, never had the Great Ape training. He never mastered himself like Goku has. Goku's Ikari is only the initial stages, though, as it only has the Ozaru strength boost, with no muscle bulk, no endlessly rising power, and none of the possible self-damage that accompanies that berserker state. Piccolo's unearthly power is now dwarfed by Goku's, but the end result is roughly the same. Perhaps Piccolo's respect for him, not having to resort to the Great Ape, is evident, but either way he leaves, defeated, yet determined to beat him next time. Everyone else is blown away by Goku's odd non-transformation. Those that can sense Ki are dumbstruck. Why would anyone ever have or even need that kind of power? After this, we enter the 5-year time skip. Gohan is born on schedule, and he has a tail. Given that in canon they had no issues with Gohan prior to Piccolo's accidental encounter, neither Goku nor Chi-Chi would attempt to remove it, especially since it is ultimately controllable. Her overall reluctance to have him be a fighter once again results in Gohan remaining completely untrained. This time, though, with Chi-Chi's blessing, Goku occasionally takes his son through the pre-dawn transformation process a few times, carefully recreating those circumstances of his own training. Should the worst happen, being able to control it would be a good idea for the boy. This allows Goku to engage in some training while he's in his base and Ikari forms. Not that he knows to call it that. He all but ignores the Ozaru form for now, choosing not to look at the moon. Ultimately, Gohan has roughly the same power and fighting ability as in canon. Any accidental training he gets from his father is lost in the fog of mindlessness. Goku and Chi-Chi, however, do impress upon the lad that staring at the full moon is an all-around bad idea, unless Daddy is there to help him, as he remains completely uncontrollable throughout most of the transformation. When Raditz arrives, he is immediately on the back foot. Initially thinking that Piccolo's power is Kakarot, he meets the Namekian and quickly ums and ahs his way out of the wrong side of that one-sided encounter. What the hell? Earth shouldn't have anyone that powerful, let alone other aliens. One of those weaker power levels might be Kakarot, though, that is, assuming he's even alive. He arrives at Kami House, and to his surprise, meets Goku, who is almost as strong as him. Kakarot's improved so much. Well, it's not surprising, given that green monstrosity running around. There is no berating his brother this time. There are, in fact, congratulations for having survived this long. Goku is puzzled by all this until Raditz informs him that he is his brother, and that they're Saiyans, and, all that sort of stuff. Now be a good little Saiyan and come along, little brother. Your prince awaits. Well, Goku ain't going nowhere, so after some back and forth, Raditz attacks, catching Goku off guard, as you do. He grabs Gohan and flies off after delivering his ultimatum. Goku recovers pretty quickly, though, and looks up to see Piccolo, floating there, smiling down at him mirthfully. Without words, he flies off to retrieve his son, flecks of yellow swirling in his eyes. Piccolo struggles to keep up. He's not going to miss this little family spat, though. It could be entertaining, and it could provide an opportunity to show off a new technique he's been working on, just for Goku. They arrive early as Raditz is closing the pod door on that pathetic, sobbing brat. Goku quickly dives in to take on Raditz as Piccolo just floats there, watching, waiting for his moment. Raditz vs. Goku Round 2 is, I would struggle to say, even one-sided. Raditz, and by proxy Vegeta and Nappa, can see Goku's power flaring. It quickly passes Raditz's 1500 and on to 2000, 4000, and up. It eventually settles at a comfortable 12,000, as Goku once again enters the initial stages of the Ikari form. Nappa is, well, he just sits back down, dumbstruck. Vegeta, on the other hand, is absolutely livid. How can low-class trash like that have, let alone hide, that much power? How many sit-ups did he do? How much juice did he drink? Abandoning their current assignment, they depart for Earth immediately. Hearing this, Raditz tells Kakarot to settle down. There are now 2 other Saiyans coming, and one of them is even stronger than Kakarot seems to be now. Together, the last of their race will be even stronger. Nothing will stand in their way. But Goku doesn't care, and charges in. He punches Raditz in the gut, knocking the wind clean out of him. Then, as Raditz doubles over the fist still buried in his stomach, Goku spins and hits him in the back of the head, knocking the thoughts out of him too. Well, I'm sure Piccolo is disappointed at the lack of fireworks, and I'm sure he's also just a little bit terrified. He's been training so hard, and once again Goku just blows right past him, like it was nothing. The news about the other Saiyans, one even stronger than Goku is in his yellow-eyed state, that's just, well, damn it. This was going to be his world. And now? Something breaks within him. It's hopeless. All his ambitions are meaningless. He settles to the ground and slumps down, defeated. After Goku rips open the pod and extracts his son, Piccolo asks what he plans to do about those coming Saiyans. The Ikari fading, Goku shrugs and says, maybe train a bit? But who's he going to train with? There's no one that can really push him, Piccolo grimaces and then quickly smiles amiably, putting Goku on edge. He should train with him and the brat. The stronger Piccolo can get, the better training partner he will be for Goku. And if his kid is anything like his dad and that lump on the ground, he'll be a powerhouse before you know it. Oh, Chi-Chi ain't gonna like this. But honey, the fate of the world. So, will their training prove sufficient to fend off the coming Saiyans? Nappa probably won't pose an issue. But can they match Vegeta's base, let alone Ozaru? Find out next time on Dragon Ball. What if Goku kept his tail?